Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 8th day of October 2019. Well, my voice probably isn't any better today than it was yesterday. I don't know what's going on, but maybe I need to add some wild cherry bark to my tincture regimen this morning. So maybe that'll clear some of that out. Maybe do some more herbal teas, some more infusions. When I do herbal teas, it's not a tea bag's worth. It's filling a French press up about, I don't know, anywhere from a quarter to a third of the way with herb, and maybe more if it's fresh. Dried stuff, you don't have to add as much because it does expand, but after it, basically rehydrates in there. But, so if it's dried stuff, usually about a quarter of it I'll put in, and a couple of big healthy pinches is what I use. Anyway, so it's more of an infusion than an actual tea. But it matters because, if you are an herbalist or if you like to do things herbally, then you think about ways to keep your body in balance and everything. And there's nothing better than nice, rich herbal infusions to do that. With dandelion and chickweed and cleavers and red clover and just anything out there you can find in your yard, plantain, all of that. Put that in together in a nice tea, and your body will thank you. I guarantee it. No pun intended. Or maybe. Well, let's look at the astrology for the day. Anyway, moon's still in Aquarius. This time it's in the 4th house. So again, more comfortable with intellectual stuff than if an Aquarian's going to be more comfortable talking intellectually than emotionally, for example. I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them aren't very comfortable with they're more comfortable with intellect, let's just say, than emotions. They're another air sign like Libra. Gemini's the other, so we're pretty chatty, but at the same time, whereas Aquarians might be a little more aloof. Geminis are probably a little more social. And the Librans just sort of sit back and try to find the resting point between the two. So that tells you the energy dynamic in the air signs. So anyway, with the 4th house involved, then there might be a little bit of insecurity there in terms of energetic insecurity. Maybe there's a lot of comings and goings in your home. Maybe your home's undergoing renovation. Maybe you change homes a lot, so the foundational structure is a little bit fluid. So when the moon's in Aquarius in the 4th house. So Sun and Mars are still in the 11th house and Libra. So again, avoid imposing your will on other people. But Venus is in Libra in the 12th house. Comfortable with the unknown, focusing on the future again, but not really focused on the present. That's true. Sometimes Librans can worry, and you're a little bit worried about what happened in the past and how it's going to impact the future, and you forget about the present moment. So I do that sometimes, given that I'm a Libran. My birthday's on Sunday, so I'm right smack dab in the middle of the looks like another apple hit the roof. I just heard something drop and hit the roof. That's our apples. Got one tree that's over the house, and first time it happened scared the crap out of me because it happened over my chair. It's like, what just fell on our roof? But anyway, Mercury's still in Scorpio in the 12th house. So again, also with the Sun and Mars in the 11th house, relationships are important here, but with Mercury and Scorpio, sometimes interactions can be intense, so just caution there. Let's see. There's a yod today, which I thought was interesting, between the Sun, the midheaven, let's see, what else? Neptune and Black Moon Lilith. So the sextile, the easy relationship, is between the Sun and the midheaven. I'm looking at my notes here. But so you're talking about dedication, hard work, personal success, and all of that. So that's the foundation of the yod. But Neptune and Black Moon Lilith are close enough that they're both included as a focal point, or at least it seems like they're both the focal point. So you're kind of looking at, with Lilith, you're looking at the primal within sort of escaping, and so you want to recognize all of that within you, because it's oftentimes the impetus for things. And with the sun and the midheaven working together there, it's promising, whatever you really want to do here is going to be be positive and successful. But with Neptune, I guess with Black Moon Lilith, I'll back up. Guard against victimization and maintain healthy boundaries with others, both egoic and also health-wise. So if you might want to, this focus might have actually more to do with, even though we're talking about spiritual energy and all of that with Neptune, it may have more to do with creating healthy boundaries with others, and that this yacht is actually saying to us that we can do that, with the sun and the midheaven as the sextile, as the foundation. They don't really understand Neptune and Black Moon Lilith. They're in conjunct, or otherwise known as quincunx. Have to be careful when you say that, otherwise we have to change the designation on this video. Most people just say in conjunct. So they don't really understand each other, but they're there to support it anyway. So I guess what I would say then is that that's really what the yacht is about. It's about not getting into a victim role. Black Moon Lilith, is not always sure who the bad guy is. Sometimes it's Lilith, but they're Lilith's energy is real willing to put that off onto someone else. It's like, oh gosh, not me, ooh, me. But I think that we're able to balance that, with the sun and the midheaven as the foundation for the yacht. So I think it's actually a good thing. You never know with Black Moon Lilith, but basically, I would say, especially in this month of Libra, we're talking about balance and boundaries and all of that. So again, I think that that's probably something that's going to support that. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, let's go ahead and go on ahead with the reading here. You get carried away with astrology. And I'm going to go ahead and put down the 3 cards. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've come back, thank you so much. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. And do check out my blog over at imsteppingaside.com. It's called Stepping Aside. It's just a witch blog, and it has other stuff than witchcraft, though. So check it out if you like. I'd love you to do that. I'm going to do a bee. We looked in the hive yesterday, and we took the queen excluder off, and so we're going to leave that honey super on though for the winter. I think they went and cross combed instead of following the frames. I had foundationless in there, and I didn't alternate with any foundation frames, so they didn't do their comb the way they're supposed to. Bees will do what they want, if you don't guide them. So even when you do, they do what they want. So anyhow, no big deal, but I'm going to write that up on the blog, so look for that if you're into beekeeping. And then also the correspondences and astrological information will go up again today, so after I'm done here. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to do this randomly, of course, taking the 13th card each time. And we'll start out with 3 cards and maybe add a 4th. And then we'll do a rune from the Elder Futhark. And we'll close out with a geomancy rune. So let's get going. Well, we start out with Temperance, the 14th card from the Major Arcana. A little bit of moderation. Blending water with fire, will with emotions here. Again, boundaries. Remember the yod for today. Well, we have the Emperor, which we had yesterday, the 4th card of the Major Arcana, defining as authority and structure and maybe some willfulness on the part of a male person or a male energy. So not a particularly temperate individual. Let's do the 3rd card. The Temperance is has it being the 14th card, has a let's see, a 5 energy, so change. 5 and 4 is 9, so completion. Well, this is going to be a soul archetype day. We have the Devil. That's the 15th card of the major arcana. You're looking at a 6 energy, so higher self-influence is here. It's an as above, so below card. Well, this is going to be fun. Let's have a little bit of lemon and honey tea here. I try to start my day out with a lemon and honey cleanse. It turns the body alkaline. It adds alkalinity to your body, which is a good thing. You don't want it to become acidic. And the other thing you want to watch too, which I know seems odd, is your voltage. Optimum health, you run in a negative range. When I was really ill, when I had severe rheumatoid arthritis, I've been in remission since early March of 2011. I became a cannabis patient and went into remission after thinking I was dying because I was that sick with it. It was out of control for 13 years. Again, my 13 figures prominently into my life. Being born on the 13th, things just happen in 13s for me. It's weird. But one day my husband touched the voltmeter to me, and I was like +4 or +7. I'm thinking it was 7 though. And I went and I looked it up because I was shocking him and everybody else, right? All the time. I had been doing it for years. Well, I was retaining a lot of fluid, and I mean a lot of fluid, and they did nothing about it, so it stayed there. So anyway, I was shocking people. My husband just touched me one day with it and he goes, whoa, look at that. So I looked it up to see what the significance of it was, and that's when I found out you're supposed to actually run negative, voltage when you're well. And so it really showed how ill I was, So of course I panicked all the more. But anyway, little side thing. Let's see. All right, we can pull this back down and get rid of the astrological stuff. So we have Temperance. We'll look at that first. And I think I'm going to leave the order because I don't think it matters. I think the focal point here, though, of the reading, this little yod reading, we actually do a yod reading when we only do 3 cards here. So we've got a focal point in the reading, and then we've got the 2 support. Maybe that's how we ought to start interpreting it energetically all the time, because that's how really it seems to work out, isn't it? I think so anyway. Anyway, we've got the angel. You see a sun disk on the angel's forehead there. You see the sun emanating around his head, or its head. We don't know for sure. I doubt that angels really have genders, so I don't know. We could just say her. We'll say her head. Except we have red wings, so it could indicate male energy. You also have the fire element as the glyph on the chest of the gown that the angel's wearing. So again, masculine energy. We see the sun rising between 2 peaks in the background. The idea of 2 peaks and something rising between it, or a pathway going between it, or it doesn't have to be mountains. It can be 2 trees. It can be 2 staffs. It can be 2 towers. Anything that's 2 and something going through the middle of it describes the middle way, essentially, in moderation. But the sun is dawning basically on a new way of expression here. We see the yellow irises over there on our right, to the left of the angel. However, 1 foot is on land, 1 foot is in the water. Essentially, this is a card of balance, balancing will with emotions, as I said earlier. Now, we have the Emperor, who we had yesterday, who doesn't really look you in the eye. There's no softening to this guy, so I don't ever read him as anything really positive. You start out in the major arcana with the Fool, although I think I've read that some people put the Fool at the end, and I don't know if that's just people from, hundreds of years ago. I don't know of anybody currently doing it, but there could be. So if you run across that, that's a thing, okay? That's just a perspective, and some people put the Fool at the end. But the Fool generally begins the leap into form, and so it leaped down through the abyss if you're looking at the tree of life from Kabbalah. Well, it's actually the high priestess that brings you below the abyss, but that's what the Fool is doing. The Fool is jumping into form and taking that leap of faith, basically. But you start out with the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, and then the Empress, who breathes life into existence. All right, and then you have this guy who's just kind of sitting there. He's supposed to be. He's supposed to bringing order. He's supposed to bring order to the creation of the Empress, but I don't know that he necessarily does, because you don't see enough color here. You see just the fiery oranges and reds and whatnot, and the golds. You don't see anything that's really denoting understanding. You see the ram's heads, the 4 ram's heads there, sign of Aries. So a lot of energy, a lot of so he could be putting things into play, but what? What is it? There's nothing here that denotes balance. So thank goodness for the Temperance card, because we need it, right? Excuse me. And it's interesting, the Temperance is the 14th card and the Devil is the 15th card. Now, you might be inclined to think that this is a negative card, but it is not. You see, as with the Magician card, the as above, so below nature of where he's pointing, although in his left hand, you see the receptive presence with the torch in the receptive hand. Strength goes to Spirit now with the right hand. But we've got a little bit of problem with the receptive side of self, maybe a little misuse of force. Maybe we're choosing to be a little manipulative, letting ego, guide our way. You see the female side of the equation, the feminine side, the receptive side over here. You see a pomegranate for her tail. Whereas over here, you see on the left side, you see strength with the oak leaf. Now it looks like he's got more horns on his head than she does. I see only 2, whereas I see possibly 6, at least 4, possibly 6. We see our goat-headed god with the rounded horns. You see the inverted pentagram, which is not about Satan. This is not the devil. He really isn't. This is about a focus on form and manifestation versus a focus on spirit. When the pentagram is turned upward, turned correctly, then you're talking about all elements in spirit and a focus on spirit. When it's just turned up, when it's turned upside down, you're just looking at a focus on ego and a misuse of force in this in this case, a focus on self, basically. In other words, here you have a more spiritual focus, and here you have a more focus on ego. But it's what we contend with in our life here. It's not a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of and to realize the illusory nature of it. We project this whole universe out. As the creator, we project it all out, and all possibilities are there. And we just simply build our lives from the endless possibilities that we can choose from, right? So, and as the creator, all we're doing is just, discovering different paths and different directions and different choices and what the effect of all of it is, right? And we gauge it by, does this enhance our evolution together, or does it detract from it? And so that's basically the choice we make when we come into form. Are we going to enhance this or detract from it? So we call that service to others versus service to self. Now, service to self usually indicates somebody like the emperor, who cannot really see beyond himself. It's different. If you look at, say, the King of Pentacles, you're looking at somebody who can see the whole kingdom, who can see the people in his charge. This guy's only, generating his own energy. And I think what this is telling us, that if we're somebody in authority, we have to watch how we do that. Just as today, which was it? Was it Mercury and Scorpio in the 12th house? We need to observe more than interact and be diplomatic, because interactions could be intense. We're talking about the yod and healthy boundaries. I don't know that the emperor really has healthy boundaries, because he's really just all about himself. I mean, it's not that he can't, it's just typically he doesn't. You just don't see any other color on the card to indicate that there's some other things going on. You don't see any real yellow for intellect or purple. You don't see any blues or greens or browns in there to talk about the rest of his experience. You know, his emotions, his intellect, his physical concerns, his kingdom. You know, the world at large. Because of course the emperor would be the emperor of the world, not just the emperor of your local area like a king is. Well, here the rune today is I was, which is the 13th rune of the Elder Futhark, which again we're talking about as above so below nature, which you could do this way if we didn't want to have them horizontal with the king in the with the king in the middle or the emperor in the middle. You see. As above, so below nature of life, okay? So then we pull I was out of the rune bag. The 13th rune again, a 4 energy, so structure, unless you want to leave it at 13 like I typically do. I consider the 13 to be a master witch number along with the other master numbers, but that's just me. But you're talking as above, so below here. You're talking lagus, for upside down and well, forward and reversed, I suppose. If you really want to talk directionality, you could do it. You could, well, I don't know how you would. Well, you could do it the other way, but I don't know how you'd do that. Well, you just draw it backwards. But I think forward and reverse is probably this way. So you're talking about the energetic flow from spirit informing our day and our activities and who we are, because it is who we are. We just forget that. You know, we come into form and you get that little veil of forgetting thing that happens, and we don't remember. Babies, I think, do, and young children probably do. They may not understand that's what they're knowing, but in truth, before the world gets to us and it sort of, you know, solidifies our focus into this form, we're a lot more free with our energy and our awareness and our understanding of who we are. That's why you don't see babies and young kids being upset at another child with a different color skin. You see, they don't see the enemy. They don't see the other. They simply see a friend or the other side of self. And that's really what we are here. And that's what I mean when we start thinking in terms of evolution of the species, evolution of who we are. We have to understand that we really are, in truth, one energy. And if we understand that, then we can maybe look at each other with a little different viewpoint, a little different perspective. So, and in this case, what I was is telling us is from a spirit's perspective, because that's what we are. We're not these bodies. We're not this ego. We're not the personality. We're spirit, always. Well, let's see what we have today. Oh. Well, okay. So we have Carcer, and I'll draw that out for you. Geomancy can be done a variety of different ways. If you haven't seen it before, go over to the blog. I do a geomancy reading once a month at the beginning of each month. I also do a monthly tarot reading. And then I do weekly Rune and Moon. That's up. And let's see, what else do I do? Well, just anything else I might want to do. Sometimes I do tarot readings. I do the correspondences and astrological information most days of the week. Sometimes I don't. I have to, go to the grocery store and things like that. I have a dentist appointment today. I got to get my crown. I finally get my crown. Yay. But anyway, you can do geomancy this way with 4 runes like I've done. You color code them if you do, though. One's got to be attributed to fire, one to air, one to water, and one to earth. And you're going to put the whatever's on them, either the single dot or the 2 dots. This is what they look like. This is earth. You see, I coded it with earth. There's a single dot. On the back side is dual. A single dot is a active presence. A dual dot is a receptive or presence, basically, or passive. And then you arrange them like this. And so you have a 4-level glyph, basically. Like with I Ching hexagrams, those are 6 levels of either single or broken lines. So you're looking at the same sort of thing. A single line, which is the single dot, or 2 lines, which is the 2 dots. It's basically the same type of energy. This is just a little bit different. But here we have Carcer. And it almost looks like a little cage, doesn't it? Imprisonment. We're going to put Karser with the devil, or rather, we're going to put Karser with the emperor. Okay. The problem with this guy, because he doesn't battle will, because I guess he does battle will with emotions, because he doesn't balance will with emotions. He's not temperate in his way. He can't see. In other words, he can't see the sun rising between the peaks. He can't see different pathways available to him. For him, there's just a single pathway, right? His own will. And I think that, it's basically the basis of his own self-imprisonment, because he cannot see facts, because he cannot see truth, because he cannot see the forest for the trees and beyond the nose of his face, because it's only his own way. He can't understand that there's something else there, that there's another viewpoint, that there's another way of seeing things, that there's another choice to make. It's all about his own expression of will. Does not inform him because, again, he cannot understand that he is anything more than ego. There's no balance there. There's no spirit present. He's so unaware of it that he cannot possibly understand anything to do with compassion or anything else. Instead, it's the misuse of force we find with the devil, or the ego within, that seems to want to control everything. So we can say that this is a personal reading, okay? A lot of us have trouble with healthy boundaries. We sometimes have trouble balancing emotions with will. That's something we all go through. But today, I suspect that this is more, now that we're discovering, I read briefly that you've already got people that are not, from the State Department, that are not complying with subpoenas. Folks, you're going to go to jail. I don't know what to tell you. You can't not comply with a subpoena. This stuff isn't by choice. Oh my God, these people are stupid. They're stupid. I don't know. They're just stupid. Well, they're governed by, an emperor who is so willful that they're so caught up in whatever they think they're going to get out of it. They're not going to get anything. So it's like, we're just going to watch, the lemmings going off the cliff, right? This may apply to your personal life. It's more likely applying to what's happening to us all collectively and what we're witnessing these days. Balancing will with emotions is not easy. Again, we have, although we do have the yacht in the sky with the sun in the midheaven, illustrating that we can do this. We can create healthy boundaries, both within and without. So that we can see more than just our own needs. The emperor here in this reading is just seeing his own needs. He can't understand that everything is being driven by the id. If you have I have a degree in psychology, and what we learned there, in Psych 101 is you have the superego, the ego, and the id, and one might be tempted to assign Black Moon Lilith to the id, maybe within, but definitely the devil is. Ego can be informed by the id or by the superego, which is the higher self. And what we're trying to do here with, let's call the emperor the ego, we'll call the devil the id, we'll call the temperance the superego or the higher self. We're trying to have, I was expressed where we have a better mix here in terms of the choices we make and the boundaries we have and the focus we have here in form. It needs to be more heavily weighted on spirit, lest we imprison ourselves in the ego's grasp. So right now what we have is a situation where a person in authority is being held in the ego's grasp, and he cannot see anything else. And unfortunately, things will not work out well when this happens. So whatever this is going to portend is going to be nothing good. We have some treaties a treaty he's walked away from, open skies. So we no longer are going to be able to watch what Russia does from satellites, I guess, or from flying around, or whatever the open skies is. I don't know if it applies to satellite or if it applies to us just roaming around. And now he's decided that we're going to walk away from people who helped us and bled for us, died for us. Yeah, the Kurdish people that are fighting over there. He's just letting Turkey and Russia take them. and kill him. So this is who we have in the Oval Office right now. It's unfortunate that he's there because a lot of people are going to be harmed because of it. And so we need to figure out what prison we've put ourselves in here with Carcer, that we're allowing him to put us in, because now we're in a position where no one will ever trust us again. The Kurds are calling us traitors. So this is the effect of when the id takes over and cannot understand truth, cannot listen to people. He didn't even alert anybody. Our people were leaving. He ordered them out, and they were still leaving as the bombing was starting. Yeah. So I guess in time we're going to figure out how many of our own people died in this whole endeavor, because this guy doesn't know how to be a commander-in-chief or anything else. So this is what we have today, and I apologize for that. But if this just simply applies to you, perhaps you're having issues of boundary issues and issues of authority that you don't really know how to maintain. Maybe you're in a new position of authority with people at a job or something, and you're trying to figure that out. Just remember, if you're doing that, that you have a chance at being successful here today with this yacht in play. But in order to do that, you're going to have to bring some temperance into, bring some balance between will and emotion so that you can actually, be the kind of authority figure, the kind of boss, whatever, supervisor that you need to be. And again, if this is just an internal thing that you're exploring within, just understand that you've got to take a look. With the moon in Aquarius, you might not be too comfortable, expressing emotion or hearing emotion from others, but it's something you need to balance within. Aquarius doesn't really have that balance. It's something that they have to find and learn to create. So you do that by understanding the as above, so below nature of life, of expression, that I was within that. So if this is not about the guy in the oval, which I'm sure it is too, this may also be something where we're trying to figure this out. How do we express the authority in our lives in a way that's, that's this compassionate, yet still stands our ground, It's like, I need this, and that might upset somebody, but you got to figure out a way to say it so that you cushion it as much as possible. You might not be able to control all of it, by the way you say something. Maybe what you're talking about is just flat out upsetting. But the way you go about it, again, remember, we've got Mercury in Scorpio, we've got Mars in the 11th house and in Libra. So again, imposing will on others may not work today. So again, that's an expression of authority, right? That may not, given where everything is right now in the skies, it may not be as you might have to watch that influence a little bit. Clearly, doing what we've done to the Kurdish people is a likely expression of this. Mercury and Scorpio, interactions are going to be intense. But my goodness, why would you send people to their death? Only a dictator does that. So if your decisions on a personal level are causing grief for other people, you better make sure that it's the right thing and that there's no other way. I mean, sometimes grief is just what we have to deal with because something has occurred and now we all have to cope with it, right? But when it's you making it happen, that's another thing. You've got more choices than you realize, so make use of them today. Don't imprison yourself with the Carcer energy, and for heaven's sakes, don't imprison other people. So, in any event, it's interesting too, because one other thing regarding the Kurdish folks, I read that they're the ones keeping the ISIS fighters imprisoned in captivity or whatever. They've captured them and they've got them. Well, now he's handed them off to Turkey's dictator, and he'll either just let them go or make it worse. I don't know, right? So it's an interesting side trip there in terms of imprisonment, because there's an imprisonment factor involved in what's going on with the Kurdish thing. So I don't know. Given that this is soul archetype, it's either telling us on a personal level, we have to take care of this right now, if this is something we're grappling with, that this is something that's big and has to be dealt with today. It's a Mars energy day. It's a Tuesday, so lots of passionate energy to get that done. But again, it can work against you. Remember, Mars in Libra can work against you if you're not diplomatic enough. But at the same time, given that it's all soul archetype cards, this could be what's happening in the world and collectively to us. This is not a good thing to send people to their death. That is never good for any ruler spiritually, but it isn't good for the whole planet either. So what's happening, we are in a crisis, and unfortunately, the crisis is so epic, but we've been conditioned for it all along that I don't think we really truly don't comprehend what's happening here. I don't think enough people are screaming, although you have Republican senators and congressmen that are speaking out. People that have so far been so sycophantic that you wonder, what do they have on them? How did this happen? Are they just making a whole lot of money off of this, or do they actually have something on them? And they're forcing them to do this. None of this makes any sense. So unless you look at it that way, and I mean, my God, are we there? I think we are. So when you see soul archetype cards come up like this in a reading, when that's all there is, it's like, wow, something is happening. This is earth shattering. It's heaven shattering. So anyhow, watch and see the news today and see if any of this resonates that way. But if it's happening for you that you need to figure out how to balance, some authority within, then today's the day to do it. Get it done. Make some decisions. Make some choices that bring you into a better balance with self and others. Because trust me, if it's soul archetype cards coming out, if it's cards from the major arcana, and that's all we have, and Carcer's here, I mean, this reading is telling us this is serious, folks. So again, either collectively or individually. Individually, it's going to affect collectively, maybe not everyone, but at least in your immediate area. So they will likely thank you for resolving this issue within people around you. So anyhow, that's the day, I guess. And I guess I'll see you tomorrow, and I'll have my new crown. Yay. I don't understand why I didn't get a temporary. I don't know why he didn't want to do that. But anyhow, this process started in August, folks. And it's going to be, what is today, the 8th? It's a day of strength and practical matters and higher self-influence and greater levels of harmony. So please think on that level. And try to send if you're a witch and you're into influencing, try to do a spell that influences the guy in the Oval Office to change his mind. Although now it's kind of too late because the bombs have already been falling, right? Yeah, we don't know how many have died. So there you go. Anyhow, it's nutty, isn't it? And it's not going to end anytime soon, I don't think, unless they simply find a way for everybody to throw him out. And I don't know that that's going to happen. So I think it's going to take voters. So anyhow, we will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming by. Hopefully tomorrow will not be a crisis mode here with a bunch of major arcana cards, and we can just sort of calm down a little bit and, but make use of that yod today and bring yourself into balance if that's needed. So, and just, check in with your health and check in with, where your focus is. So anyhow, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for coming by. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.